Hi, everyone. I just wanted to make a quick video to go over some of our assignments this week. Basically, this is our peer review week. I cannot believe it's already time for peer review, but we are going to be reviewing our contextual analysis papers. Hopefully, you got some good feedback last week on the intro paragraph peer review on the discussion board, so we can kind of build off that knowledge. So basically, I created this little Google Doc that's going to link to a bunch of places where you can put your paper for peer review and then also your responses for peer review. I have directions here that are kind of color coded. If you follow these, you should be fine. I just wanted to show you, if you click on this link, it's going to take you to the peer review sheet. And then you can sign up for one of the groups. And then once you're in a group, you just click on this link here. Right? So let's go to one that's not altered at all. And then that's going to take you to the peer review group. And the first sheet that you'll see in this group is going to be the peer review worksheet. So these are some questions that I've written that are basically just kind of giving you a sense of how I'm going to be thinking while I'm grading. Hopefully this will help you to give the most helpful feedback to people, helping you think about their thesis statement, the organization, whether or not they have, they're using the appeals correctly and things like that. And so kind of look through these, get a sense. What I'm going to say, though, is that don't feel like you have to write like a paragraph for each of these. I want you to write enough feedback that it's helpful to the person, especially since we're online. We can't really like kind of chat in person. So you might want to go ahead and write full sentences on here, but you don't need to write like a ton. You just want to give enough feedback that you're helping that person. And in fact, a lot of people also will put comments on the document itself. And so if that's something that you're doing, you can always put, make a note here or something that your feedback is on the document, and I can give you credit for that. The way that I usually recommend thinking of peer review is that it's for the other person and not for me. And so as long as your feedback is helpful, I'm going to give you a good grade on peer review. So don't worry too much about, making sure you're doing peer review perfectly. That said, if you have questions about peer review and you're feeling kind of lost, please don't hesitate to let me know. What I'd recommend doing for peer review, and I'm going to go ahead and show you a previous class's peer review so you can see what it looks like, is, making sure that you keep the first page sort of the same. And I mean, I guess they didn't do that here, and that's fine. But what's helpful is if you copy and paste the original document so you can make sure that you have a clean copy so everyone gets that, those questions, and it's not a pain to have to keep rewriting them or whatever. And then what a lot of my students have done in the past is they'll just use kind of color-coded text so that it's clear who is writing what. And I mean, technically, if you're signed into your Maricopa account, I'm going to be able to tell who wrote what on the document anyway. But this way, it'll just be clearer. I can see here that this was Kayla in green and Brittany in purple. What a lot of students do is they'll just link their Google Doc or their Word document on this Google Doc so that students can just click on this and it'll pull it up. One note about that, though, is that that's totally fine. Great. Just make sure that you have changed the sharing settings. And let me go ahead and show you the sharing settings on Google Docs or on Microsoft Word to make sure that people will actually be able to access your document, especially if you're not planning on going back into the peer review at all. Because what happens is that I'll get a bunch of emails that say, oh, I actually can't open the document in my peer review. You want to click on this share and just make sure that it says, I would change it to anyone with the link. You can change it to Maricopa Community College District, but that means that everybody has to be signed into their account. And even when I'm signed into my South Mountain account, sometimes it won't let me access it. I have to be signed into my Maricopa account. So I would just go ahead and say anyone with the link, and then just make it so that they can view or they can comment. Either of these is good. You don't need to make them an editor. And then you can copy the link and share it on the document. Okay, and so let me know if you have any questions about doing that. I am also more than fine with you just copying and pasting your paper directly into this Google Doc, and I actually think that's usually easier, but I also understand why students would prefer to have the document separate so that, it keeps the document a little easier to navigate. The last thing I want to say is that I shared this file with you, these slides on revising your contextual analysis. It's really text heavy. I made this for online classes. And so, it's not very interesting to look at, I'm sorry, but The advice that I have on here is pretty much always the same. And what I would really recommend when you're thinking about your rhetorical analysis or your contextual analysis paper, you're not sure you're on track, or you think you're on track, but you just want to know for sure, is just make sure that you are not simply agreeing with what the documentary is saying and then summarizing its argument. You want to be analyzing whether or not you think that the documentary is making a good argument, a compelling argument, a persuasive argument, an effective argument, and that people would be inclined to agree based on how well they're making their argument and not on how true the content is. So, for example, if you are writing about a conspiracy theory and you agree with that conspiracy theory and you're like, yes, this conspiracy is true, and I'm glad this documentary is getting the word out there, that might make you feel a little bit biased to think that that is a persuasive documentary, but you want to be thinking about, okay, well, I agree with them. I do think this is true, but would somebody who doesn't already believe in this be persuaded by this documentary? And try to be a little bit open-minded about that, because it's possible that even if somebody has an argument that's true, that they're not making the argument well. Okay, so just kind of think about that, and then make sure that you are analyzing it, you're breaking it up into categories, you're describing how something is pathos or ethos, and you're not simply describing what happens, okay, in the documentary. I have other considerations here. Don't skip your summary. A lot of people lose points for that. I have some notes on style. Make sure that you don't slip into casual language, that you don't use the word I or you. And so, I have lots of advice here. I'll probably share even more with you in the announcement. But please don't hesitate to let me know if you have any other questions. And good luck with your writing and good luck with your peer review.